So we're now going to enter into the final session of the day, which will be conducted in English. So ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and fellow game enthusiasts, so welcome to the inaugurations of the Hong Kong GameHub, a new center dedicated to empowering game developers and fostering innovations in our local gaming industry. So this hub, brought to you by the Hong Kong Game Developer Alliance, or Hong Kong Game Diva, will serve as a vital platform for collaborations, creativity, and growth. So GameHub by the Game Development Association of Hong Kong, DIVA, is an industry lead portal committed to enhancing the local games industry expertise through continuous data-driven learning, fostering innovation, supporting research, development, marketing, and business development. So by leveraging industry experience, GameHub promotes collaborations and global competitiveness, advocates for industry support, and nurtures future talent, aiming to create a vibrant and innovative gaming community in Hong Kong. So now, ladies and gentlemen, to kick off the inauguration ceremony, should we all give a big round of applause and welcome Mr. Philip Lau, founder of Anxious Otter Games. Philip, please. All right, over to you, Philip.
I'll give everyone a few more minutes because they're still coming in. Okay, I guess we don't have enough seats, and because that means that we have a lot of game developers here. And thank you for coming to the GameHub inauguration held by Game Diva. So I think a lot of you heard about Game Diva or already inside Game Diva. So I'll just do a very short intro. Game Diva was established in 2017, and we are a non-profit association. And we have a WhatsApp group that has over 100 game studio inside, and most of them are like studio owners or like team owners. And that's about it. So we are actually trying to expand Game Diva, and we created something called a GameHub. So let me introduce a little bit more with our committee members. So William Lau, who's my brother, and he's also the director, another director of Game Diva. And William, can you? Yeah. So this is William Lau. Yep. So the next one will be Hank Choi. He's from Minidragon. And Jeremy Lam from Pixio. And Edward Lee from Twitchy Finger. Okay, so about GameHub, we always wanted to try to unite all the game studio in Hong Kong. That's our first mission. And what we are trying to do with GameHub, there's a few things. Firstly, education, tech and data, and industry. So I think all of you will agree that education is very important in game development, because right now the education quality on game development in Hong Kong is very lacking, and there's a big gap that we want to try to help on the study, and that's why we invited many professors and doctors from different universities to come. And for education, that also we will try to include internships, and we'll be making a university inter-university game jam. The next one will be like tech and data. A lot of you will think that, okay, game development, it's about creativity. It's all just about like how unique a game or how fun is a game. But actually, we want to like educate all the industry people that, okay, making a game, creativity is a part, but actually a big part is about like the tech and data. Jeremy always educate on the like on other people that, okay, making a game fun is like the first step. The second step is looking at the data, analyzing the data, like on the retention rate, on the average revenue. Like making a game is not just about fun, but it's also looking at data. The third thing about is we were trying to like unite the whole industry. And by that, we meant like finding support from the government, getting fundings, and that we try to like unite the whole thing is like giving more like a window for the education. Like, okay, if a student wants to learn more about the industry, we can actually provide more support. So the first thing I'll talk about the internal stuff and external stuff. Like it's more a structure in a GameHub. The first thing we want to do is like revamp the Hong Kong game catalog. A lot of people ask at the game dev like, oh, what games are there in Hong Kong? Like, okay, there's these, but it's very difficult to actually tell them. We had a catalog made around 2018, but actually it's very difficult for us to like update because there's new games coming up every year. So we actually tried to make a website that's an automatic crawling website that actually doesn't require anyone to update it, and it will actually crawl the data from App Store or Play Store to update the web catalog. So when we bring games out into the international market or like to international partners, then we can actually show them, okay, there's these games in Hong Kong, and we can easily show them that. I just mentioned we are trying to push a inter-university game jam and internships. So we all know that game jam is very important for creativity, or actually let them know that, okay, how is it, or how important it is to make a fun game. And there's already a global game jam happening right now. Always been a global game jam in Hong Kong, but actually we want to focus on the students, and we have tried to let them know that, okay, how important it is to make a fun game. And global game jam has some rules and that we need to, if we want to work with global game jam, there's like these rules that we need to follow. But we actually want to make a more free game jam. That's why we want to make this game jam. And for internships, we want to make a paid salary internships that actually, because we have all the studios on our catalog and we have the context, we hope that the internships can actually help the students to get to know more about the industry. For external, we are actually working with CCIDA, and we'll try to bring Hong Kong studios to China Joy next year and GDC the year after. We are also trying to create a few delegations to the Greater Bay Area or like other world markets. For another external, we will try to put more research and reports on the game industry, because right now when you ask like how large is the game industry, like there's no one can answer you, okay, maybe this numbers or that number. Like we want to try to have a more accurate numbers on the game industry in Hong Kong. And the last and most important thing is we saw that, okay, the local game industry in Hong Kong isn't that strong enough if we just work with ourselves. And we can see that the Chinese companies right now is very, very strong. And that's why Hong Kong is also a very good area for them to settle, because there's low taxation and there's like more stable policy, like country policy stuff, right? So we're trying to invite Chinese companies to settle in Hong Kong. So the last slide. So what I want to share with you is the last generation, like the studios have been doing, creating games or developing games themselves. And what I want to show you, this is like growing the cake bigger. It's also what the Financial Secretary of Hong Kong mentioned, like 整大個餅. We try to make the industry larger, expand the industry with GameHub, and then when the industry is large enough, the government will actually notice us, the legislature will actually understand or know more about the game industry, then at last I hope and we hope that they can provide more funding and support to the GameHub or the game industry. So that's all from me. Yep. So right now I'll invite Hank, Jeremy, and Edward to the panel, and thank you everyone.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jeremy. I'll be the host for our panels today. I've always wanted to host a panel. I've always only been the person being asked the questions, so now I can finally ask the questions. Today with us is Hank and Edward. They're both CEOs of their own companies, and we all make mobile games here locally in Hong Kong, and we all publish them globally overseas. So first of all, I want to talk about education. So education is one of our cornerstones of Diva. So I want to ask Hank. I know you've been reaching out to a lot of professors of different universities in Hong Kong. What have you gotten so far? What have you found out so far?
Yeah, so this year I reached out all the universities in Hong Kong, and what I find, the first thing I want to say is that Hong Kong is a really blessed little island in the world because it has a lot of world-class educators in our ecosystem, and actually what I find is that they are all really eager to connect with the industry, and they all have some form of, actually all the universities already have some form of presence and development in games already. For example, in my finding is that Hong Kong University, they do make games, you know. There are a lot of game projects in the program. And the PolyU also, they are expanding their educational class on games as well.
Their master's program, right?
Yeah, and master's program. And City U also, they're beefing up all the game programs. So,
that sounds very robust. How do you envision the schools and the industries, or us? Like, how do you envision us working together with them?
Yeah, actually, for the first, I really like your idea of the mini game jam because it really makes sense, right? Because if we host a mini game jam between all the universities, then each university currently don't necessarily have all the same capacity in the courses. Some universities have a full courses on games. Some might just have a course in the first semester. But doing a mini game jam for just the weekend, the commitment for the students are not that high, and we can scout the talents for them to engage with the industry.
Yeah, I do think the low commitment is definitely a way to inspire them to kind of get into game development. Definitely. So let's move on to local studios, right? So another part of our cornerstone is gathering the local studios, supporting them, understanding their needs, and all that. So Edward, you've been making games in Hong Kong for quite some time now. What do you think is the number one thing missing from Hong Kong studios?
So that's a great question. I actually get asked that a lot. I think often the first question isn't what's missing. It's there's game studios in Hong Kong. What games do you make?
Yes.
So there is a very robust ecosystem. There's a lot of game studios in Hong Kong. They've been making very amazing games that do very well. I think there's two parts to the questions you asked. First, what is missing? I think first of all, it's just the awareness of that we have a very vibrant industry of creative, technical, management, marketing. Game industry is a multidisciplinary industry. A lot of people think it's often just creative, as Philip said, but it isn't. It's a very multidisciplinary industry. And I think first off, we need to do is raise the awareness of such, all these, creative titans, technical programmers, great marketing companies. I think that's number one. Number two is there are a lot of companies that do very well in Hong Kong. Their base is in Hong Kong, but their market is not just located in Hong Kong. It's a global market. And what these companies, once they hit a certain barrier, is, okay, they grew their talent locally. So next up, how do we scale? And that's where scalability comes in, right? I think what Hong Kong lacks is often these companies start off as indies or small companies. They grow to a certain size and they stop. It's like Game of Thrones. The dragons only go as big as the caves, right? So I think we really need to knock out the barrier between that and try to establish a very robust support system, a sustainable system where we can keep growing the industry and let it scale to what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. So why I'm asking you this, because I know you're also an executive at Seasun Games, right? They're in China. And so since you've been there, like, how do you think that Hong Kong studios can benefit from like being close to these Chinese studios? Like, what can we learn from them through this connection?
Yeah. So I've been with Season Games for I think 7 years now. So some of the challenges early on was just the difference in culture. Although Hong Kong and China has a very close proximity, but just due to how the difference in how we operate, a lot of the businesses and some of the market we work in, there are different cultures. So I've learned a lot of how the Chinese mainland game industry works, and vice versa. I also learned certain platforms like Google Play are not available in China, and some studios within China often they have great performance in China, but when it comes to coming to a global, a more international market, say listing their game on Google Play or the North American, Steam, they often face problems like localization, some of the different, privacy policies, even or they're trying to expand and they go overseas, a difference, and looking for the right BD or working with the right people. So I think that's some of the challenges. Some of the things we've learned is that in Hong Kong, often, I noted again, even very successful studios are often, some of the biggest ones are only around 100 people, maybe.
Yeah, less
but
than that,
most of them are only in the 20 people range. So often what happens is the game, each person in the Hong Kong game studios are, they wear multiple hats. It's a great thing. That's what makes Hong Kong special. They are, in a way, they are jack of all trades and they're masters at that trade as well, right? Yeah. But what we need to, as we scale in Hong Kong, is to have experts, particularly just focus on a single discipline. In every single discipline, which makes things a lot faster. It makes the scalability much more feasible. So I think that's something that, I think Hong Kong studios can learn from mainland Chinese studios is their singular expertise or focus on a particular field.
Yeah, I think the Western studios are kind of like that as well. They all have you have not just game designers, but like level designers or a person who just designs the feel of one gun in the game. Actually, Aiden from Game Dev Happy Hour was that. He was doing that in Battlefield, yeah. So, which brings me to the next point, right? So our next cornerstone is, how are we going to work with China and help Chinese studios to build up their base in Hong Kong and leverage the internationality of Hong Kong to focus on the global market, right? So next up we have Mr. Ningkun, founder of Leap Studios. He has 3 studios in China in Beijing, Xi'an, and Hefei, and he's currently making a game called Realm of Ink that is coming out soon. It currently has over 100,000 wishlist on Steam. And welcome. It's your first time in Delft, right?
Yeah. First time.
Yeah, welcome to Sourport. We had a deep conversation like 2 weeks ago,
Very
right?
deep.
Very deep, very deep conversation. So one very interesting thing about your studio is it's not just one. It's 3 separate studios working on the same game, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and why did you choose like Beijing, Xi'an, and Hefei? Why particular these 3 studios or these 3 cities?
Yeah, because of poverty.
Poverty.
Yeah, because if you want to make like game, like you need money. Like that's pretty simple. Like although maybe all of my colleagues we all love our game, but still like they need to eat, they need to live, and just like in mainland China, there are some cities you just don't need that money to actually sustain your life.
The salary is just very low, right?
Yeah,
like the cost of living is very low in those places.
That's the major part. But also like, so when I was trying to do the game, and I used to work for IBDN and consulting, and then trying to be academia. Like I got my PhD for philosophy. Well, not yet, but like Yeah, but suddenly I decided to change to make the game because I think game is actually a pretty good interaction, like to deliver your message and also your information to the world. And so I was trying to do the game, make the game in a more like a consulting way. So I need a game designer, I need coders, also need artists. So I actually have a sheet about like all the best art school in China. Like there's top 8 art school in mainland China called 八大美院. So I was like, the first one is in Beijing, no. And the second one is in Hangzhou, still kind of high. But when I was looking at the cert, it's called 西安美术学院. And the average salary just like, okay, that's affordable, so let's go there. So that's where I get my like basically in Xi'an just for our games art, and also in Hefei it has the best coder in China. It's called 中国科学技术大学, and I got my studio over there too. And for game designer, I got it in Beijing. We have 中国传媒大学, all the stuff, and also all the big name company in Beijing.
So you methodically went through all the top universities.
Yeah.
And looked at their salary.
Yep.
Too high, okay, just right.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect balance between quality and salary. Okay.
Yeah, that's because
All
of the poverty.
Could you talk a bit about like what is the actual salary when they come out of their schools, when they graduate?
I don't want to hurt you guys, but it's around like
It's fine. I'm hurt already. You can say what you want.
like 4K RMB per month.
Okay, you did not hear from me.
But also here's the thing, like I'm not a slave owner, and I don't want to do harm to all my colleagues because I truly believe we are doing something great and we can make something happen. So although like despite of this kind of salary, I was trying to, well, if it hurts so much.
You should talk to my colleagues. Give them a boost.
Yeah, but here's the stuff, like although the salary is not that high, but I actually rent houses, like a big house. We like all of us
So you provide housing as well.
Yeah, we just live together. Yeah,
that's impossible here in
Kind of
Hong
like
Kong.
Silicon
Yeah,
Valley.
that's-
where
yeah,
you
Silicon
have
Valley.
It's like that's just like college.
Yeah, we can't do that
college.
here.
Yeah.
We can't do that here. So you also shared a bit about like this game, right? At Realm of Ink, and you shared about the philosophy behind Realm of Ink, and I found it quite interesting. Could you talk a bit about the game?
Yeah, only a bit, I guess, because I don't think we have
have
the
much
time.
time, yeah.
Yeah. So originally, it's actually because I study philosophy, it's actually the psychoanalysis. So I was trying, like, we all have, well, maybe most of like philosophy students have this kind of existential crisis. You are questioning yourself that whether like where you come from and what's the point of life. So there's different genre or category of like way of doing it. You can be existentialism, you can like nihilism, all the stuff. You don't believe anything is real. So like yeah, I think it's cool because like every time like it's a roguelike game. So every time you get a chance to live your life, and there's different way of dealing with it. So yeah, I'm gonna use the story of Liao Zhai, and then like it's a Oriental methodology, and also like I'm trying to tell this kind of story to not only to Chinese people, also all around the world. So it's more like a matrix design of the whole structure. So it's a way of discovering yourself how you actually face the existential crisis based on Oriental methodology with infrastructure with a structure of matrix. That's pretty
Awesome. Yeah, that's exactly it. The demo is also out on Steam, so please have a play. I think you said the new version was coming out this week or something.
Actually,
A more final
actually,
version.
Yeah, publicly next month.
Next month. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
Awesome.
We're getting the inside track for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
we
early. I'm early. Okay. So another thing about you, like starting your company in Hong Kong. First of all, you're from here, and then you chose to start your headquarters here in Hong Kong.
Yes.
And you recently joined the GEPS program.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about the experience in the GEPS and how that helped you?
Well, it helps a lot, like I said, because the poverty, and I have to like. Of course, I want to hire all the people from Hong Kong, but it's just insanely expensive. I have to do all this stuff, and also like nowadays, even you have a good game, you need also like resource to actually like to get all the people know your game. So GEPS helps me have this kind of opportunity to introduce my game to like all the people around the world. Maybe like not only just from Steam, I get to have the cash to pay for the KOL, and I got to have like the resource to reach to TGS. Also like from the TGS, they have a business like platform. So many people just reach out to me like thanks to GEPS. Like
So just a quick note, GEPS means Games Enhancement and Promotional Fund Scheme. It's it's a government-backed fund to provide game studios that are selected with a certain amount of marketing funds, and also they get to attend the Tokyo Game Show within the Hong Kong Pavilion. So it's like a promotional schemes for established game companies in Hong Kong.
Thank you so much. I have no idea how to say that in that official way. Sorry.
It's also created by HKDEA with Gabriel. Thank you, Gabriel. And then it's also funded by CCIDA of Hong Kong. Yeah. So that's it. That's all my questions. Does any public member have any questions for any of us?
So we're going to open up, the panel for any kind of Q&A. It could be anything. We're open book. And let's invite Philip onto the stage as well for this part of the Q&A. All right, I got a question.
Yeah, let's go.
So you guys announce all this now. Then what's the next step? Philip?
So my first objective is actually trying to talk to CCIDA and different government bodies to actually try to get more fundings and support from the government, and try to the first thing is do our website, our game catalog, and also bring games out of Hong Kong and to the international market.
So for the education, we definitely, upcoming September when the semester start, we want to go to all the universities and host seminars and show the kids, show the students there's a career path in games. A lot of findings I find this year when I visit our institute is that the students might not necessarily know, there's such opportunities in this career path. So we'll do the seminars thing and coming September. And hopefully we can do the mini game jam.
Hopefully the game jam with all the professors here.
So another thing that we're targeting, as Philip mentioned, we do need more exposure for the Hong Kong game industry, and partly is attending game conferences. You meet like-minded people. Hong Kong itself doesn't have conferences locally, but there are many internationally, and we are targeting at least 2. One within China to establish a greater bond within Hong Kong and China. And a second is to work overseas, an overseas conference. And it's just not about showing, what Hong Kong game companies can do. It's also, often we forget, game is not just a product. When we go overseas, we are an ambassador to the Hong Kong game industry. And being part of an ambassador is connecting with people all over the world, with like-minded people. And partly what we want to do is, when I started and I traveled to a lot of these game conferences, there was only maybe 1 or 2 Hong Kong game studios. And often I have to explain myself over and over again, trying to, get the right people, find the right platform. Which person should I actually talk to? And, over the years, a lot of us has been to a lot of these conferences, and we have a very established network of people that, if you need a localization company, find this guy. If you need a good marketing person in Bangkok, find this person. If you're going to Nordic and you want to publish there, find these people. Or if, flip side, if you want to find games, there's certain things we can link you up with. And what we really want to do is bring game companies overseas and within China and network and grow, because we're not just game developers, we're also entrepreneurs. And part of being an entrepreneur is getting out of that comfort zone, connecting with people, and making these deals happen. So that's what we're targeting.
That's awesome. I'm very looking forward to our trips to, if it's done, if it's done properly,
I'm also
to
trying
GDC and China Joy.
Trying my best to convince the government that after party can be funded as well. Because I think we all want, going to other places. We want to have a good time, and actually the most important meetings actually happens in the after party. Edward
definitely.
Edward can tell
Edward
you
is
a lot
the
of
king of after parties.
Stories,
So and a lot of these big companies like Google, not Apple, but AdMob, you talk about AppsFlyer, they often host a lot of different all these networking events, and a lot of times people who just go there, they don't know how to attend those different events, and those are the ones that you establish with the C-level people, or the upper level BDs, where we can actually get things done. So hopefully we can bring everyone along for the ride.
I really feel also today is a very important day as well. It's for quite a while, it's the first time we really have a lot of people show up and join together. So today is also a really important networking day.
Yeah, and since part of networking is actually getting to know the people, so I think last a little bit of time we would like to invite some of our guests up for a quick photo.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
That's correct. But before that, can we have the gentleman on stage? Let's have one photo together first.
Sure.
Okay, sure.
All right, our gentleman on stage. So please kindly look into a photographer in the center. And can we have maybe the gentleman, let's give a thumbs up for a great panel discussion. Okay, so please kindly stay for another official photographer. Please kindly keep your thumbs up. All right, another photographer. All right. Okay, let's have one more photo together. Okay, so please kindly stay for our official photographer for one more photo. Okay, please stay for one final photo. Okay, one final photo, please. Okay. So once again, thank you very much, Mr. Dai. Please kindly be seated off stage first. And the gentleman on stage, please kindly remain on stage. And I would also like to invite William Lau. Please kindly join for our next photos. And coming up next, I would also like to invite the following guests to come forward for a group photo. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Associate Professor of City University of Hong Kong, Yossi Packer. Should we all give a big round of applause? And also Senior Lecturer of St. Francis University, Kinson Jern. Is it here? Kinson? No? Okay, so let's move on. We have Senior Lecturer of Hong Kong Baptist University, Dr. Mangoni Paulo.